What you are about to hear is real. A story hidden by time, war, and a river that never forgets. If you're brave enough to follow the truth to the end, stay with me. And subscribe now, because some stories refuse to stay buried. The body did not float like a normal body. It came first as a shape, pale, twisting, spinning slowly in the brown water of the Ohio River. Fishermen near the riverbank froze when they saw it. As the current pushed it closer, they realized something was wrong. There were no arms, no legs, just a torso, swollen and cut clean, tied tightly with thick river rope. Someone screamed, someone ran. Within minutes, the shore filled with people. Men removed their hats, women covered their mouths, children were pulled away. The river kept moving, calm and uncaring, as if it had not just carried a message of pure horror. This was not an accident. This was not war damage drifting downstream. This was murder, and it would not be the last body. By nightfall, whispers spread through river towns from Kentucky to Ohio. People said a butcher was at work, a careful one, someone strong, someone who knew how to cut a human body without panic or mess, someone who used the river to hide his crimes. Before the week was over, another body part surfaced, and the Ohio River would never feel safe again. But no one knew yet how long the killing had already been happening, or how close the killer had been to them all along. That truth was still floating downstream, and it was about to surface. The Ohio River in 1864 was the lifeline of America. Steamboats carried food, soldiers, supplies, and news. The Civil War was tearing the country apart, and the river was crowded with noise and movement. Because of the war, bodies were sadly common sights. Drowned soldiers, runaways, victims of disease. Most people looked away and kept moving. That is why the first discovery did not stop everything. At first, Sheriff Elias Moore was called late in the afternoon. He was a tired man with gray in his beard and war reports on his desk. When he arrived at the riverbank, he expected another sad but simple case. What he saw made him step back. The cuts were clean, too clean. The rope was tied in careful knots, sailor knots, river knots, the kind used by men who worked boats or docks. This was not done in anger. This was done with time. The torso was male, adult, no uniform, no papers, no face, no name. Moore ordered the body taken away and quietly asked his men to watch the river. He did not want panic, not during the war, not when tensions were already high. But the river did not listen. 2 days later, a farmer found a leg stuck in mud downstream. Same rope, same clean cut, same slow, careful work. Then another part, then another. The pieces did not belong to one body. They belonged to several. That was when the fear truly began. People stopped bathing in the river. Children were kept indoors. Boats docked early. At night, lamps burned brighter along the shore, and dogs barked at shadows. Someone was killing men, cutting them apart and feeding them to the river, and the river was giving them back. Sheriff Moore gathered what little information he had. The victims were adult men, all strong, all likely workers. None were wealthy, none were local leaders. This was not revenge against a powerful enemy. It felt random. But random killers were rare in 1864. Violence usually had a reason: land, money, war. This had none, unless the reason was hidden. Witnesses slowly came forward. One woman said she saw a man late at night dragging something heavy toward the river. Another said she heard sawing sounds near an old warehouse by the docks.
A steamboat worker spoke of a traveling laborer who moved from town to town, taking short jobs, never staying long. He was quiet, strong, kept to himself, and he always left suddenly. The description was vague, but it was enough for rumors to grow teeth. Men with knives were watched, butchers were stared at, dock workers were followed. Fights broke out over nothing. Fear makes enemies out of neighbors. Then a child made a discovery that changed everything. Near a bend in the river, half buried under wet leaves, the boy found something white. At first, he thought it was driftwood. Then he saw the curve, the smooth shape. It was a skull. Clean, scrubbed by water, teeth still intact. Moore knew then that the killer was not rushing. The bodies had been in the river long enough to be stripped and scattered. Whoever did this understood how long water takes to erase a person. That meant experience and patience. The town demanded answers. Newspapers printed frightening headlines. The phrase Ohio River Butcher appeared for the first time, bold and dark on cheap paper. Once named, the killer felt real, closer, too close. Moore ordered searches of warehouses, boats, and boarding houses. Nothing. No blood, no tools, no confessions. It was as if the killer dissolved into the river itself. Then, suddenly, the killings stopped. No more parts, no more rope. Weeks passed, then months. Winter came, cold and silent. Some said the butcher had drowned. Others said he moved on to another river, another place. But Sheriff Moore did not believe in luck. He believed in patterns, and he believed the killer was still near. In the spring of 1865, a lead finally appeared. A dock supervisor reported a laborer who quit without collecting his final pay. He left behind a small bundle. Inside were clothes, a knife wrapped in cloth, and rope, river rope. Before Moore could question him, the man was gone. No goodbye, no trail, no body, just absence. The knife was never proven to be the weapon. The rope matched dozens used along the river. There was no witness brave enough to swear against him. And in a nation exhausted by war, the case slowly sank. The Ohio River Butcher was never caught. No trial, no grave, no final answer. Only pieces of men returned by water, one by one. And if you think that was the end, it wasn't.
Because years later, when the river ran low during a harsh summer, workers repairing the riverbank uncovered something buried deep in the mud. Something that proved the butcher may have stopped killing, but never stopped hiding. And what they found would reopen a terror no one was ready to face. The river was low that summer, so low that the mud along the banks cracked open like dry skin. Steamboats scraped bottom, fish died in shallow pools, and things that had been hidden for years began to show themselves. Workers repairing a damaged stretch of riverbank near an old dock struck something hard with a shovel. At first, they thought it was a rock, then another, and another. One man bent down, brushed away the mud, and froze. It was a bone. Not small, not animal, human. Within minutes, the worksite turned silent. Shovels dropped. Men backed away. Someone ran to get the sheriff. When Sheriff Elias Moore arrived, his heart sank. The bones were packed together, deep in the river mud, not scattered, placed carefully. As the men dug wider, the truth became impossible to ignore. There were many bodies here. Too many. Some were missing heads, some were missing limbs, some had rope marks still carved into bone. The water had hidden them, the mud had sealed them, but now the river was giving them back. This was not one crime. This was a dumping ground. Word spread fast, faster than Moore could stop it. People crowded the bank, whispering, crying, pointing. Old fears woke up again. The Ohio River Butcher was not a rumor anymore. He was real, and he had left proof behind. Moore ordered the area cleared. Guards were posted. Bones were wrapped and moved. A doctor was brought in to examine what was left. The findings were chilling. These men had not all died at once. Some bones showed older wear, others were newer. This place had been used again and again, over months, maybe years. The butcher had been patient. The victims were similar to the earlier ones, adult men, strong, likely workers. No women, no children, no signs of robbery. This was not random violence, it was focused. And it raised one terrifying question. How many were never found? The doctor also noted something else. The cuts on the bones were clean, straight, done with skill. Whoever did this knew exactly where to cut. Not sloppy, not rushed. This was someone comfortable with blood. Someone trained. That detail changed everything. Moore went back through old notes, old reports, old rumors he had once ignored. A pattern slowly formed. Many of the missing men had worked near the docks, temporary jobs, short contracts, loading, unloading, repairing. Jobs that paid cash and asked few questions. Jobs that brought men close to the river at night. And many of them had been last seen drinking with the same type of person. A traveling laborer. Strong, quiet, no family, no fixed address. He moved with the river, stayed just long enough to blend in, then disappeared. During the war years, thousands of men drifted like that. Soldiers, runaways, workers. It made hiding easy. Too easy. Moore tracked old boarding house records. Most were incomplete. Names were missing. Ink was faded. But one name appeared more than once, always briefly, always followed by a sudden departure. The problem was simple. The name could be false. In 1864, no one asked for papers. No one checked backgrounds. A man could be anyone he claimed to be. That made the hunt nearly impossible. Moore questioned dock workers again, this time harder. Some refused to speak. Others admitted they had seen things but were afraid. One man finally broke. He said the laborer worked late, very late. He heard sawing sounds near an abandoned warehouse by the river. He said the man washed himself in the river every night, scrubbing his hands until they bled. But the witness had no proof, and fear makes memories slippery. The abandoned warehouse was searched again. Still nothing. No blood, no tools, no bones. The water had cleaned everything. It always did. As weeks passed, frustration turned to anger. People wanted an arrest, any arrest. Some pointed fingers at butchers, doctors, even surgeons returning from war hospitals. Innocent men were threatened. One was beaten. Moore knew panic was more dangerous than the killer. Then another discovery changed the case. A fisherman found a knife caught in weeds along the river edge. It was rusted, but the shape was clear. Long, narrow, sharp. The handle was worn smooth, like it had been used often. The blade showed signs of careful sharpening. The doctor examined it. He could not say for certain it was the murder weapon, but he said something that made Moore uneasy. This was not a normal work knife. It was a cutting knife, used for flesh. The knife led nowhere. No marks, no name, no owner. The trail was going cold again. Then suddenly a message came from a town upriver. A body part had been found. Fresh, same rope, same cuts. The butcher was not gone. He had only moved. Moore realized the truth too late. The dumping ground was old. The killer had changed locations, learned, adapted. The river was not just hiding the bodies, it was helping him travel. Authorities upriver were warned, but communication was slow. By the time messages arrived, towns were already on edge. Some men left river work entirely. Trade slowed. Fear spread faster than facts. And then, just as suddenly as before, the killings stopped again. No more parts, no more rope. This time, years passed. The Civil War ended, towns rebuilt, new faces arrived, old ones moved on. The Ohio River kept flowing, carrying memories away. Moore retired with the case unfinished. He kept his notes until his death. The bones were buried without names. The knife was locked away. The Ohio River Butcher faded into history, but history has a way of whispering. Decades later, a historian reviewing old river records noticed something strange. In several towns during the same years, workers had vanished shortly after reporting disputes with a man using different names. Different names, same description: strong, quiet, skilled, always near the river. The historian could not prove it. No photograph survived, no fingerprints, no confession, just patterns. And patterns are dangerous because they suggest the truth without ever showing its face. The Ohio River Butcher was never arrested, never exposed, never punished by the law. But his work changed how river crimes were handled forever. Patrols increased, records improved, bodies were no longer ignored. The river taught a hard lesson. And yet, one final question still hangs in the air. If the butcher stopped killing, what made him stop? Did he die?
Did he move west, or did he simply learn how to disappear better? Because no one ever proved the bones in the mud were all of them, and no one ever proved the butcher truly left the river behind. The closest anyone ever came to the Ohio River Butcher did not happen during the killings. It happened years later. Long after the fear faded, long after the bones were buried, long after Sheriff Elias Moore was gone. It began with a ledger. In the early 1880s, a river historian named Thomas Ridley was studying old dock records for a book about trade along the Ohio River. He expected dull numbers, cargo lists, boat names, worker pay. But one entry stopped him cold. A laborer's name appeared again and again across different river towns between 1863 and 1865. Sometimes the name changed slightly. Sometimes it was spelled differently, but the handwriting was the same, the pay rate was the same, and the job length was always short, too short. Each time the name appeared, something else appeared soon after in local newspapers. A missing man, a body in the river, a rumor of dismemberment. Ridley felt a chill run through him. He was not a lawman. He was not hunting a killer. But history has a way of pulling people into its shadows. He began mapping the entries. The pattern followed the river perfectly. Town to town, dock to dock, always moving just ahead of the news, just ahead of fear. And then Ridley noticed something even worse. The entries stopped suddenly in late 1865, not because the man vanished, but because he changed jobs. After the war, many laborers found work in slaughterhouses and meat-packing facilities. Ridley found records of a man with a familiar description hired at a facility far from the river. Strong hands, quiet nature, skilled with knives. The work fit too well. Ridley searched death records, prison logs, hospital lists. Nothing. The man seemed to dissolve into ordinary life. No arrest, no execution, no confession. Just silence. Ridley wrote a letter to local authorities sharing his findings. The response was polite but cold. Too much time had passed. Evidence was gone. Witnesses were dead. The law could not chase ghosts. But Ridley could not let it go. He interviewed old dock workers, now gray and bent with age. Some remembered a man who washed his hands too often. Some remembered sawing sounds at night. Some remembered fear without knowing why.
One old man said something that haunted Ridley forever. "He wasn't angry," the man whispered. "He was calm, like it was work." That sentence mattered. Killers driven by rage burn out. They make mistakes. They explode. But killers who treat murder like work can stop any time. That means the Ohio River Butcher did not disappear because he was caught. He chose to. That realization turned the story from horror into something worse: control. The butcher chose when to kill, chose where to dump, chose when to stop, and he walked away. Ridley never published the man's possible name. He feared being wrong. He feared accusing someone who had already blended into history. He also feared something else, that exposing the truth would prove the butcher won. Because the greatest escape is not fleeing, it is becoming normal. The Ohio River still flows today. Boats still pass. Children still play along its banks. Most people do not know what lies beneath the mud. Most people do not hear the whispers carried by the current. But the river remembers. It remembers the rope, the cuts, the patience. It remembers the butcher. And that is the final terror of the Ohio River Butcher of 1864. Not that he killed, but that he may have lived a full life afterwards, unpunished, unrecognized, unstopped. Somewhere he may have grown old, raised a family, worked honestly, died peacefully, and no one would ever know what his hands once did in the dark beside the river, because the river kept his secrets, and it always will. Some crimes end with justice, others end with silence, and sometimes the scariest truth is not who the killer was, but how easily he disappeared into everyday life. The discovery came without warning. A collapsed riverbank after a violent storm exposed something dark beneath the soil. A local farmer checking the damage near an old bend of the Ohio River saw what looked like rotted wood sticking out of the mud. When he pulled at it, the ground gave way. Bones spilled out. Not scattered, not broken by chance, stacked.
Word spread quickly, just like it had years before. Lawmen arrived, shovels dug carefully. The smell of wet earth mixed with something older, heavier. What they uncovered shocked even the men who thought they had seen it all. More remains. Too many for one grave, too organized to be an accident. This was not the same dumping ground found years earlier. This was another one. That meant only one thing. The Ohio River Butcher had more secrets. The bones were examined by newer methods, better than those used during the war. Experts noted familiar signs, clean cuts, rope marks, the same careful work, the same calm precision. But there was something new this time, a personal item. Buried with the bones was a small metal button, worn smooth. It matched a style used on dock worker coats in the 1860s. Inside the rusted curve, faint initials could still be seen. 2 letters. That tiny detail sent historians and investigators into a frenzy. Records were searched again, this time with fresh eyes and stronger resolve. The initials matched a name Ridley had once written down and then locked away. A man who worked the river, a man who moved often, a man who vanished from records after 1865. But now, something else appeared. A death certificate. Years after the killings stopped, a man with that name died quietly in another state. No crime, no suspicion. Buried under a proper stone. The butcher had not disappeared. He had simply aged. The realization hit hard. The killer had lived among people, worked beside them, spoke to them, smiled at them, and when he died, the ground accepted him like any other man. There was no justice waiting, only truth arriving too late. Newspapers debated whether to publish the name. Families of the victims begged for answers, others begged for silence. Some feared reopening wounds, others feared that not telling the story would let it happen again. In the end, the name was never officially confirmed. History chose caution, but the river did not. Each time drought lowered the water, people wondered what else lay beneath. Each flood carried fear along with debris. Parents warned children to stay away from certain bends. Old men fell silent when the butcher's name was whispered. The Ohio River Butcher became more than a case. He became a warning. That evil does not always scream, that monsters do not always hide in shadows, that sometimes they work quietly, patiently, and then walk away. The river kept flowing. It always does. But those who know its story listen more carefully now, because somewhere beneath the current, the past is still waiting. And if the river ever decides to speak again, who knows what it will give back. Some stories end with answers, others end with unease. And the Ohio River Butcher leaves us with a final thought that chills the soul. What if the river has not finished revealing what it knows?
The river is quiet now. That is what people tell themselves. On calm mornings, the Ohio River looks peaceful. Sunlight dances on the water. Boats move slowly. Birds skim the surface. To anyone passing by, it feels harmless, gentle, forgetful. But rivers do not forget. Historians who studied the Ohio River Butcher came to one final understanding years after the last bones were found. The killer was not powerful because he was strong. He was powerful because the world around him was broken. The Civil War created noise, chaos, death everywhere. In that noise, one careful man learned how to hide. He learned that no one asked questions when bodies were already expected. He learned that moving water erased tracks better than fire. And once the war ended, he learned something even more important. He learned when to stop. That choice saved him. The butcher did not push his luck. He did not crave attention. He did not write letters or boast. He left no symbol, no mark, no message beyond the bodies themselves. When danger grew too close, he stepped away and became ordinary. That is why he was never caught. Lawmen searched for monsters who raged and slipped. They did not look for someone calm, someone patient, someone who treated killing like a task to be completed and then set aside. The butcher likely listened to the fear he caused, read the newspapers, watched men argue on docks, and when the noise grew too loud, he disappeared into normal life. That ending unsettles people more than any execution ever could, because it means safety is fragile. It means the line between everyday life and horror can be thin, and it means justice does not always arrive. The victims of the Ohio River Butcher were buried without names. Their families never received answers. Their lives ended quietly, returned piece by a river that could not speak fast enough to save them. Today, markers along the Ohio River mention floods, trade, and war. They do not mention the butcher, not officially. But stories still move through river towns, passed from one generation to the next. Parents warn children not to wander near certain bends. Fishermen tell newcomers about places where nets snag on things they do not want to see. Old dock workers fall silent when the topic comes up. the river carries those stories forward. Not loudly, not clearly, but steadily. And that may be the final truth of the Ohio River Butcher. That evil does not always end with a courtroom. That some killers are never named. That some rivers carry more than water. So when you stand near the Ohio River and the current slides past your feet, remember this: the water you see is only the surface, and some secrets, once thrown into a river, are never truly gone. They are just waiting. If this story stayed with you, it means the past still matters. There are more real crimes history tried to erase. Subscribe and stay here. New true stories every time. Because silence is how monsters survive.